All right, that was Dark Side as predicted by, I think, the entire panel.
Oh no, I went -10.
Did you know?
Yeah, they lost the dice rolls there.
They kind of did. It was an ECM face-off.
Yeah, that's like the most boring match ever.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. The one interesting thing about that match was to see the different tanks fielded by both teams.
Yes.
While the Dark Side had a shield team, which technically gives them less mid slots.
Yeah.
Importantly, I think they were using Kitsunes while the -10, who were armor tank, were using Falcons. And the Kitsunes, of course, get a lock way before any of those other cruiser-sized ships do. So I think they won the match at the first second.
Which is interesting, that the entire match basically being decided by a few frigates within a few seconds. Mm-hmm. So people that aren't necessarily experts or follow the Alliance tournament might be wondering, Caldari ships with an armor tank, how does that work?
Well, the thing that's really important about the Alliance tournament is those mid slots, because that's the only place you can really fit that E-War, and E-War is so powerful. So when you fit that armor tank, there are a lot of Caldari ships like the Drake or other ships like that have enough low slots to fit an armor tank. It's not really the optimum, but it frees up all those mids.
I think the short answer is, how have we seen it work? Well, it hasn't. Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be at a slight disadvantage running a Caldari team with an armored tank. You're not going to get any resist bonuses. And yes, you're going to get more mid slots, but then again, I don't believe as we move to the final weekend that ECM or E-War will be playing as big of a role as it has today, because people will know how to counter them by the next weekend.
All right. We're going to talk to AO about Plex prices in just a second. Just before that, we're going to go see Mr. Ravy and Mr. Kill2 with CCP Sunset.
Hi, CCP Sunset back in the commentary booth. So, Mr. Ravy and Kill2 are still here. How are you guys doing?
Oh, doing great. We've been watching some amazing matches this half.
Yeah, it must be pretty exhausting. There's a lot to say.
There is a lot to say, but I'm doing all right. I was so exhausted yesterday, and I just feel great today.
Yeah?
I'm just excited.
Good night's sleep did you the world of good.
Yes.
Yeah, plus the excitement's got you really hyped up, yeah?
It builds.
Yeah, there's not a lot that gives me a bigger adrenaline rush than the tournament.
I was actually thinking I'm stoked because last year we were ending right now. I mean, this was like we would have 4 matches left in the entire tournament, and now we carry it all into next weekend, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, just wait for next weekend. It's going to be so cool. Can't wait. There's going to be lots more ships blowing up all over the field. We've got a few more questions from the forum. You can keep posting your questions in our forum thread, Ask the Experts, and we'll keep trying to get as many as we can to the experts in the commentary booth and also in the studio throughout the rest of this afternoon and through next weekend. So keep them coming, please. So one of the questions that I have for you guys is to do with ECM ships and how they've really been controlling a lot of the matches that we've seen. The question is, does that show that ECM as E-War is slightly overpowered compared to other types?
I think ECM used to be overpowered back before they reduced the range of some of the ECM ships. It's really a lot better now. It's still very useful. It's by far the most used E-War on Tranquility. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it's game-breaking at this point. And I think in the tournament, if anything, that's the environment where it's the most balanced.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In the tournament, ECM's probably taking second to Damps in terms of E-War dominance. However, I would say that while people were always furious about ECM on TQ and how overpowered it was, I always felt like it wasn't so much that it's overpowered, it's that it still isn't a mechanic that I don't think is fun for anyone involved.
It's very annoying to fight against.
It's annoying to fight against. It's not particularly exciting to fly.
I have so much fun flying it, though.
Do you?
Back before they nerfed Falcons, I'd sit at a gate outside of Sentry Range in Lowsec and just jam other people's fights.
Spiteful. That's a pretty mean trick. So we'll hopefully be back with some more questions later today and also in the studio, but I think we're going to head back to CCP Soundwave.
Thank you very much. So yeah, Plex prices. A bit of a debate going on with all the Aurum announced, and players are asking what's going to happen. Are we going to regulate it? What is going to happen?
Well, I can tell you for sure that we're not going to regulate Plex prices. EVE is a player-driven market, and we try to have that ongoing in all different aspects of the market. So Plex prices should be determined by supply and demand at any given time. At the same time, of course, we realize that if we are changing the game to any extent, it of course can change the supply and demand for it. And as we are doing now, demand for Plex is probably going to increase. Now, what we can do to counteract that is simply to push Plex towards the player base in a greater extent than we've done in the past. And it's actually been great to see how Plex has becoming more and more important over the past 2.5 years now that Plex has been on the market. And we have never really pushed it towards the player base. We have allowed it to grow organically. So we will monitor the situation very, very closely. We do not have a set price in our mind is what is the right price, because the only right price is the one that clears the market. But we do understand that our actions can impact, so we try to minimize that impact.
All right, so Plex can both be used for getting Aurum, for extending your account. Some players sell it for ISK. Is there any indication what the primary use is? Is it primarily to extend your account, or is it for money making, or?
Primary usage right now is to extend your account or your subscription, using it as a subscriber method. But every time that somebody is using it to extend their account, if they bought it off the market to do so, then somebody else is using it as an ISK. So there is a substantial amount of players that actually fund their own habit of playing EVE by selling Plexes. And that's the beauty of Plexes, is that it allows two different groups to communicate through the market. Those that have real life money but little time, and those that have a lot of time but little real life money. And that allows these two groups to play on a server together that otherwise they would not have. So it actually makes the world richer. And by adding all this different functionality to the Plex market, it still draws more people towards the universe, which we all know that a bigger universe is a better universe.
I wonder if there's any other subscription-based game where you can basically buy your subscription for ISK or for their currency.
For the in-game currency?
Yeah, I don't really think so.
Not directly as we are doing it in EVE Online. There's always, of course, ways of playing for free in other games, but not the way that Plex allows it. It's a unique thing, yet another unique thing, like the CSM that we do.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have more and more exciting, unique things. Let's just take a quick look at some of our mostly accurate stats for the teams. It's Severance versus Vanguard Imperium.
No alliance icon for Vanguard Imperium, not good for them.
That does count against them. Severance, relatively old alliance, 3 1-1 and 2 lost. That is yesterday. Severance, I believe, lost to Paisti Syndicate, the Finnish alliance. They were a pretty good team, Paisti Syndicate.
They have played in quite a few tournaments before, so they're usually pretty impressive.
And what about Vanguard Alliance? I believe they also lost. They lost to, let me see. They lost to someone. I can't really find them. Oh, there we are. They lost to Perihelion. I think that was your prediction, wasn't it? You had Perihelion.
No, I was against Perihelion, mistakenly so. Sastro picked the right winner in that case.
All right, so with Vanguard versus Severance, both down, and they need to win this to have any chance of making to the final. Who is the least bad alliance?
I'm going to go with... Well, I'm going to change my prediction right now. I made a future prediction. I'm going to go with Vanguard Imperium. I feel like they're going to turn around the logo disadvantage with this fight.
I think I'm going to have to go with what Zastro would say and go with Sev 3 Rans in this case.
Dr. Ayo?
In this case, I actually have no clue, so I'm just going to go with Vanguard.
All
Flip
right.
a coin.
Flip a coin, yeah. I think I'm going to go with Severance. So we have 4 more matches today. At the end of these matches, we should have a bit of an overview of who has absolutely qualified themselves for the Sunday's final. Their match on next Saturday will be partially cosmetic, partially determining whether or not they're going to let another alliance through. There might be some tactical choices in there. We'll also know which alliances are kind of on the brink with 1 win, 1 loss, that are absolutely forced to win on next Saturday, but the alliances with 2 losses are pretty much done for this time around.
Pretty much, yeah. We're going to see some interesting metagaming next weekend, that's for sure, because, you know, some teams might want to not win their bracket so that they can face a particular opponent. So there's going to be a lot of tactics involved in who you want to face on the second weekend for all of those teams who have 2 victories under their belt going to the final weekend. So I think that's going to be the interesting part to follow on.
I think it's also important to note that some of the teams with 2 losses, if they're willing to pay quite a bit of ISK or convince another team, they could field a very, very underpoint setup with like 1 Rifter and the other team just self-destructs, and it could push them on.
Or if you're Pandemic Legion and you have 2 wins and someone says, how much is to take a fall? Could happen. Anyway, let's go see the match.